Hey, another segment for you. Still Tuesday, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and as you can tell, I laid out the pattern, the brick pattern. It's 6 inches high by 12 inches long, and then I got one here. I'm getting ready to start doing the grout lines on here. You'll notice I've got an extra little bump out there, and that is for some trim that's going to be going on, which I'll be detailing out as well. But it will sit up on top of each wall like that. I just can't attach it until I get the Dremel work done. Now, as to the Dremel work, there's several different platforms you can use with your Dremel. Now, a lot of people I notice when they do their Dremel work, this type of thing, they use one of these, and it's a attachment for the Dremel for like cleaning your grout and stuff. You know, getting rid of your grout and stuff on your tile. It works good and everything. The only thing I don't like about it is it's really hard to see what you're working on. The window there is awfully small when the foam starts flying. Now I went down, oh god, back mid-90s, and at that time down at Sears, Craftsman had a version of a Dremel, and they had a bunch of attachments for it. And one of the things that they had was a router station, and it's a router attachment that your Dremel fits into. And like I said, this was back in mid-90s when I bought this, so it's been well used. But I like this because once you get it on the foam and start doing it, you can see your work and everything else. And now the bit I'm using is a small cutting spindle. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick, and that's what I use for the majority of my foam work for my carving. I like that bit, and I know what to expect from it, and don't have any problems with it. So now basically it's taking that bit and going over each line on the foam until my pattern is cut out, and then after that's done, I'll come back through with a heat gun and some water, and I'll give it a heat treatment, and I'll cover that a little bit more once we get to that phase. Happy Wednesday, people. Just getting in and out to the shop. It's about noon. I got a couple hours to kill. Today's project. Yesterday, I made it through all the panels and got my grout lines entered in. And all. They're all cut to size, cut to shape. Today I need to take a spray bottle of water and my heat gun and go over all the panels. Doing that will give them kind of more of the brick portions of it will get look a little bit more aged. The heat will also widen out the grout lines a little bit to give them a little bit more detail. So that's going to be my first project for today. And then after we can get all the panels done, heat treating, I need to start getting them mounted to the frames. And that's going to be my main emphasis push for today. Heat treating for Halloween's finest. Heat treating these things isn't all that hard. It does take a little practice with it, depending on how much of an aged look that you want to do. It's just real simple. You just need a heat gun and a spray bottle full of water. You spritz water on the area you want to treat, and then just run the heat gun over it. And the longer you hit it with the heat gun, the more it ages or crinkles, or however you want to call it. So real easy. Mounting them to the frame, I'll go over that when I get to that point. Okay guys, I just got the first panel done on the heat treatment. Figured I'd show you the difference. Now that's the panel we started with. Right there. It looks defined. It looks like a fresh built wall. If I had it painted, it would look like a fresh built wall. The mausoleum though, I want it to look aged, like it's been out in the weather for years. The water's hit it and eroded it and stuff. So I came up with that. That's what it looks like after heat treatment. You can see how the grout lines have widened up a little bit. The stone block has a little bit more rougher finish to it and what have you, and gives it a more weathered, aged look. Now you can highlight that a lot more in the paint process. You know, like here you can see, you know, the damage and stuff. There's some low spots, some high spots. Some bricks are damaged a little bit more than others. But when you go to paint it, if you do your black or different shades of gray, darker gray in the grout lines, or white, that'll make the grout line stand up. And like here, I'm going to be using a flat gray over the panels. I could come back through with a loop brush or with tea staining and go over it, and it would settle into the darker recessed areas a little bit more, and it would highlight the panel more. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do that or not. But you know, the difference between a treated board and a finished board, it really sticks out different, really makes things look different. Now, another thing too about the heat treating. On these boards, when you get them, the foam is soft, you can pinch it, you can squeeze it. When you take your heat gun over it with the water, it actually, all it's doing is melting the foam, and it gives it a little bit harder shell on the outside, so they don't damage quite as easy, which is a nice effect too. So, but anyway, I've got 8 more panels I gotta do. There's one, it took me about 10-15 minutes to do it. Hey, welcome back for a second segment on this Wednesday. I got all my panels, as you can see, heat treated. Now it's ready to attach them, and I wanted to kind of go over this, and I mean attach them to the wood frames I made. Over the past couple of years, I've done a lot of carved foam wall panels, and with them, when I made them, I did not permanently attach panels to the frame. I used a screw and a washer and just put them in every so often and snugged them down to the panels or to the wall frames. That let me, if, you know, from year to year, if I decided I didn't need quite as many carved panels as the year before, I can pop the screws out, remove the panel, move it to a different place in my haunt, or not use it that year, what have you. It basically allowed me to remove the panel from the frame. This, on the other hand, the frames I made up are going to be used specifically and only for the mausoleum, which means I don't need to use a washer and screw method to attach them. So what I'm going to end up doing is I went down and bought more Gorilla Glue, and I had some left. Product placement there. Damn good stuff. Can be a mess if you ain't careful though. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put a bead of Gorilla Glue all around the frame, lay the foam panel on top of it, and then every so often put a screw, snug, not real snug, but you know, into it to hold the panel onto the frame until the Gorilla Glue dries. And then I can come back if I decide I want to leave the screws in with a bit of caulking, you know, just caulk over the head or whatever hole I make to fill the hole. And then once it's painted, you won't even see them. You know, like I said, I'm not going to be removing these outside panels from the frame. Hey people, after about almost 4 o'clock on Wednesday, been humping it most of the day, we got the wall panels all attached to their frames. We got the panels heat treated like I showed you earlier. So that part of the project is done. My next part is I got to figure out the peak for the top of the top of the mausoleum. Now, if I was Christopher from Hollywood Haunters, I'd be able to measure out my length of my wall and say, okay, I want a 1.5 foot high peak, and I do the fractions and the decimal points and everything, grab my piece, throw it on the table, grab the saw, and whomp, have it done. I'm not Christopher. To be honest, I suck at math. Fractions and angles and that type of stuff, forget it. So I have a different way I do things to figure out my angle. Now, what I ended up doing was I took 3 of the panels, laid them out. That's the back wall of the mausoleum, got them clamped together. Then I had some material I cut down to 2 foot. These are the ones I made my boo-boos on, saved them. and they're 2 foot wide. Laid a piece up on top. I marked the edge of the wall here, the edge of the wall down there, and then I found the center of my wall here. You can maybe see that little mark there. It is right there, that little black line. And then I'm going to be doing a medallion to go on these as well. And I figured out, I knew what the size of the medallion was and kind of laid it out. Anyway, long story short, I came up here and made another mark there. That's going to be the peak of my roof, and then all I got to do is chalk a line from there down to the corner and do the same thing from here down to that corner, do my cuts, and I've got my peak pieces. The nice thing about doing the foam first instead of doing the framing first, I can get my angles off the foam that way to do the, because I got to make the same style of frame to attach the foam to. So anyway, that's how I'm going about getting my angle set up. I do it the old-fashioned way, by hand. I don't, pull out a fancy calculator or anything like Christopher uses. God, that guy is such a whiz with figuring out his angles. Most of the props I do, I try to stay away from doing angles because I hate angles and I suck at figuring them out. Hey guys, I was up late last night on video chat talking with Northrad. Didn't get to bed till real late and actually slept in this morning, so I'm just getting started out here. Had the honey-do list to work on. Before I get going on the mausoleum, I wanted to touch on a few things. First off, the cloth mannequin dummy I bought. Virus Haunt was asking where I got them, how much they were, and I got these from Walmart on their online store. You can't buy them in store, you have to get them through the internet. Right now, I checked the other day, they're running $35 for one, or you can buy two for $56. And I'm going to put the link to these down in the description area. So if you guys are interested in the cloth dummies, you can go check it out. But the link will be down in the description area. The nice thing about the cloth dummies are these hands. And they're basically a very thick style, I guess you'd say almost like a latex glove that they attach the bags to, and they're stuffed with that batting on the inside. But you get a left hand and a right hand with it. Great for props. Dummies are great too, if you need them. So anyway, if you're interested, go check it out on walmart.com, and like I said, I'll have the link down below. The other thing I wanted to kind of touch on, one of the errands I had to run today was going down to Costco to get stuff, and while I was down there walking around, I was very surprised they still had skeletons. So I bought 3 more. That brings our total up to 9 skeletons this year that I've bought so far. Gives us a grand total of 12 whole skeletons, and 2 I've cut up for props, so 14 skeletons total. But anyway, so we've gotten more skeletons. Now on to the mausoleum build. Yesterday's build was weird. That's all I can say. I was kind of bouncing all over the place yesterday. We got the wall panels mounted. I showed you that yesterday. I showed you how I got my peaks cut or laid out and ended up having problems with this. Went to use a circular saw and it got some weird cuts. So I ended up getting out more foam and I cut 2 by hand. That seemed to work fine. Set them off to the side, was working on something else having to do with the haunt or the mausoleum. Turned around and I hear this crack, and I had stepped on one of the peaks and broke it in half, and it was like, oh shit. Anyway, I got it fixed. See which one was it here? Yeah, it was my good one. Yeah. You can see the line there where I broke the corner off of it on it. So, you know, that's not going to be too bad. I took some Gorilla Glue and glued it back together. It'll be fine, you know, especially once I get it up on its frame. But anyway, you know, I got that done. I got these cut out. I got it repaired. Then I jumped over, you know, flip this over. Right in the center of it, I decided I wanted some medallions. So I made up two, one for the back of the mausoleum, one for the front. And I know this looks like a taped mess, but I made up the medallions and got those to drying last night. I've got that one there, and that one there is a little bit different. You'll get a better look at it after they've been cleaned up, which is something I need to do today. But for the project today, my main twist is I've got to get the framework, the frame, you know, like I did for the wall panels. Need to do the same thing for the peaks, get that together, get the foam attached, get the medallions attached. If I'm going to do, I got to decide whether I'm going to leave it plain and flush or do the brick pattern on it. I haven't decided on that, but that needs to get done today. If I can get all that done today, then I need to start going back over these things and getting all the trim pieces attached and what have you. You know, that's the main push for today. Okay, peeps, bit of an update here for you. It's going on about 4:30. I got the medallions cleaned up, and there's the one that's going on the front of the mausoleum, the one that goes on the back of the mausoleum. They didn't turn out too bad. There's my peaks. I've been using those to get these done. This is what the peak, that foam over there, attaches to. Now, which I'm getting ready to do. Basically, it's the same setup as the walls. I'm going to put down a bead of monster glue around the edges, put the foam on, screw it on, set it off the side, let it dry. It's a little after 9 p.m. I did a push on it out here today. Got quite a bit accomplished. Not as far as I wanted to get for this week, being this is my Friday, or actually my Sunday, and I go to work tomorrow. But we did make some progress. First off, on the peaks, I got them totally finished, or almost totally finished. I got them assembled, put it that way. I am going to have to come back through here on Monday. I used Gorilla Glue, and as you can see, it's bubbling up there. So I'm going to have to go along that edge, clean it up. Gotta clean up the monster glue along the outside edge. And then I got these medallions done on here too. Put one of my skulls on it. That one there is going to be for the front of the mausoleum over the door. That one's going to be for the back of the mausoleum. And then I also went over all the panels, all 9 panels, and I got the trim on. And I did 2 panels with the rail going down the sides. That's for the doorway. All the other panels just have that horizontal piece up on there. And they're the same thing as with the peak rafters. I'm going to have to come back to because I used Gorilla Glue. And I'm going to have to try and trim up the edges and stuff. I kind of expected that. I overcut this piece here on purpose, you know, just to allow for slop in the wall. So I have a little bit of a, on some of the panels, a little bit of a overhang here. And I'm going to have to come back through and cut that off on Monday. But other than paint, the only other thing I have to do with these panels and the peaks is I put Gorilla Glue on, I used my air gun and did some tacking. Tack nails in there, and I left a little divot. I got to come through and putty all of those. All the trim needs it. And I was going to do it today, got into my putty, which I haven't used in ages, opened it up, and it was hard as a rock. So I need to go down and get fresh putty. I'll do that on Monday. With that being said, you know, there's a Gorilla Glue to clean up. There's a puttying that needs to be done. Then they need painting. So other than that, that area of the build is still, you know, finished for the basic build. What I have left to do is I've got the roof itself to do. I got a sheet of plywood I cut in half and shingling and stuff to do on that. I've got 2 mini pillars to make, which are going to sit on either side of the door and stuff. You know, so those are going to be my main projects for next week, is getting that stuff done. Once I can get all that stuff done, I will be taking these panels and all the parts and pieces out into the backyard and actually putting this thing together to see how it looks. And I'm going to paint it standing up. So, oh, and I still got the inside portion of the damn thing to do, and I haven't done that yet. That's what that sheet foam is for there, is to go over the walls on the inside. But, anyway, so hopefully late next week, you guys, in the next vlog, you guys will get a look at how this thing looks. I'm, to be quite honest, you know, I've got a vision in my mind of the way I want this thing to look, and I'm hoping it comes out that way. So far, the individual pieces are. I'm just hoping once it's all assembled. But anyway, that's pretty much where we're at, where we're going. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to say stay spooky out there. And, oh, don't forget to just check the description down below if you're interested in checking out those cloth dummies like I used on the stocks. I'll have a link down below. So, catch you later all. Bye-bye.